Hey, good morning, everyone. Premium Elite Note here this morning. It is 2.5 hours into the session, and just a few things I wanted to touch on. It's a little bit of a spontaneous video. I think I mentioned to everybody what to expect, certainly the elites, but also premium. I had put out a note a couple weeks ago that I needed to chill a little bit, on the private placements and try to get some recharge into, the Labor Day and the slow end of the summer. It didn't work out so well, but I did get a little recharge into last weekend. And in fact, this week was actually, more of a lot of shift of focus on my foundation and some other things in the nonprofit area that I have a passion about. And that has been really refreshing and invigorating as well. So the bottom line is I stay on top of this stuff with the trading and certain alerts, but I've been having like a lot of calls with updates with groups, that I support and things like that, pretty much every day, and it's taken up chunks of the day. And so that's why you haven't seen me as active this week. We're also after the Labor Day Monday. This week typically also is pretty slow, but it starts to get ready. And then next week we're rocking and rolling. Obviously, I don't care if things are slow or they're fast. If there's opportunity and stuff to do, I'm all over it. So I'm not saying that that's the reason why. It's more of like, I know that things are going to be a sprint between now and the end of the year. And I was hoping to take a little bit more of a recharge. Usually I go to Europe and, hang out for 3 weeks and do that in, late July or August. That's obviously out the window. And, it's been nice to be in LA, but not leaving for, 5 months. The city is very strange for me because that breaks up the monotony as well as the routine and just gets that mental perspective outside of the box. But all is well. And I just wanted to let you guys know that there is a ton in the pipeline in terms of updates and new ideas. There are some of our stocks that we hold that are ready to go, and I'll be touching on those kind of first. There are others that are sticking out as strong buys. There are new things coming that are amazing. On the private placement front, I am still taking a bit of my time. I wouldn't expect much for even the elites. I'm going to send them a note as well. It's going to be at least another week or two probably before jumping on a deal with that type of work that goes involved in it, and it might be just a small one for them. And then getting you guys involved this fall is a priority because I do believe there still are really good deals out there. We still can negotiate some long-term warrants. It's harder and harder to get, but I've got the leverage with the newsletter, and I do want to, pass those along because we're seeing it now. We're seeing the fruit bear. I'm talking to people. I'm digging through piles of my warrant stuff from, 5 years ago, and it's like there's a Bravada placement I did before I even covered it. And I put in like it was a 3-cent PP with a 5-cent 5-year warrant. And they raised like, 250. It was at the worst part of the market in August or September of 15. And I had just started to really talk to Joe and get to look at the deal. And I put in, 6,000 Canadian. But I realized I have these 200,000 warrants coming due, and they're 30 grand in the money. And, there's a bunch of these now that we've got these massive warrant profits, and some of them have huge durations left, whether it was the cheap Abraplata placements we did, or, there's a ton of them. And so I've been looking back through, and even like with Timberline, I didn't even bother depositing some of those certificates. And, those have warrants attached to them. And I think somewhere along the way, I lost a 600,000 certificate because it's like in my documents somewhere. And I've like got to do this inventory because now all of a sudden this stuff has gone from, marginal worth to like, holy cow, it's getting significant, and it might get more significant. But the warrant pieces, we've got, elite members and things that they were around in the like 3 to 5 years ago or 2 to 5 years ago, one in particular I'm thinking of, and then, job change, this and that, whatever, said I'm going to pause on that, stay on premium for like, 12 months, 15 months, just came back to Elite and said, yeah, come on back. And we went over everything, and he's talking about all these profits he's had because mainly a lot of them are the warrants on top of the other stuff. And I said, well, if you would have been around the last 12 months, it would have probably been quadruple that, but that's neither here nor there because of the pace in which we've been very aggressive after that breakout in gold at 1400. But in any event, the warrants, for those of you that are accredited, those can be big, big, big boosters of returns. If not, don't sweat it. The goal will be that you will get there. All you need is $1 million net worth. You don't need the 200 grand in income to be accredited. It's one or the other. It's not a license that you need. If you're not familiar with private placements, I normally don't even work with people that haven't done them before. Even when I was a broker, alternative investment advisor, working with very wealthy, sophisticated individuals, it was always people that when you called them and said, we have a placement, private placement, venture offering, whatever, they were like, yeah, okay, what is it? It's not like, how do you do that? What do you do? I am willing to work with people and make sure that there are some challenges in terms of, if you're comfortable and you understand them, know the risk, don't do anything crazy in terms of inappropriate allocation numbers, which you shouldn't do with your regular stock positioning. And, the companies basically have that in place to sign off to cover their butt, that, you weren't an 85-year-old widow who was suckered into something to put her life savings into, didn't understand you could lose all your money in a high risk situation like these always are and always have been. And then also the scenario that you have from the regulatory standpoint, you have enough, income and or net worth that it's appropriate for you, because usually in these cases, especially in the past, these would be like 50K US minimums, 100, whatever. Now, we're doing this with the Canadians, and sometimes we have like a 15,000 Canadian minimum that's probably moving up more towards 20 in this better market, 25. But yeah, it's like, it's not a ton, but they want that in place. So in any event, for those of you that, think accredited means you need some sort of a qualification, that it's actually an income or net worth issue. And you may want to do your homework on the private placements, because I preach the warrants for people that can do them. Because if you're going to invest in a stock long-term anyway, you might as well do the placement and get the warrant for free, which can double your triple your returns. But in any event, getting a little off course. So what I wanted to talk about real quick here is, first things first, any newer premium members and longer term premium members. So at this stage of the game, what do you buy? What do you make sure you own, and own it in size? And I've been talking about this since silver was 15 to 20, especially from 16 to 18, not far off. When it broke that level that I was looking for in the mid-19s, aka 20, I said, load the boat. I know a lot of people were buying up their silver, but silver is still a steal. And this consolidation that we've seen is a beautiful thing. And so if you don't own any physical silver exposure, and the other thing is that I see with a lot of folks is that, it's fine. And I love obviously speculating and, taking high risk flyers in the juniors. And, I do a lot of venture capital, angel investing for sure. But my thing is that, say you talk to somebody about gold and or silver, and you understand the value is money and this and that. I'll have people say like, well, what about the gold stocks? What's the hot pick? And I'm like, do you own any gold? And it's like, no. Well, go buy some gold, and then, then tell me, call me, go buy some silver. That should be the first thing that you do. And this is the gold, the physical gold exposure is the safest, I believe, place for my money. It was definitely the safest when it was at 12 to 1500. I still think it's the safest if you're willing to buy more, if it goes lower first. The silver is more of like, it's going to follow gold. It's more volatile, but the silver is something that I feel is one of the cheapest assets in the world. And, if gold goes to 3,000, silver's going to 75 to 100 minimally. My minimum target is 75. So you've got to triple from here on a physical feature that's not going to have necessarily the swings of a gold stock. And you can do that. Obviously, the ideal is you have some physical inventory, but the premiums are so high. What I've been doing and telling friends and things to do is I've been loading up more so on the ETFs that are at a discount to net asset value or are trading at net asset value instead of a 25-30% premium for buying the coins. And at some point in the future, these will go to premiums and maybe the coins will come down a bit and you could swap that out for sort of, like the opposite sort of direction. But at any event, I would strongly recommend, I've been buying the SIVR. That's the Aberdeen Silver ETF. And I think the reason for that was that when this was back in March, April, it had a bigger discount to NAV than the Sprott vehicle, which is PSLV. And I just looked over the weekend. I believe it was even Monday, the PSLV, and I'd have to check today where it is, but it was like a 3% discount to NAV. And the SIVR was at NAV. So the Sprott is the one I actually just this morning bought a bunch more at. It's 957, which basically is owning silver bars that are in a vault that are audited, and then you own a share of that ETF. So it's basically physical, even though you don't have possession of it, you don't have to worry about storing it. This is totally appropriate for some allocations of the physical metals. Others would be, you have some at home, you have some in a safe. If it's big, if it's small money, you don't need to worry about a lot of that stuff. But then if you have big money, it's like, I have some in Singapore, I have some in Toronto, there's different areas just to spread it out. And those are things you worry about later, but this is a way where it's liquid and you can buy a ton. And, I don't think there's going to be an issue with Aberdeen or Sprott where you wake up and they say, oh, we actually didn't have the gold or the silver. GLD, I don't know. I mean, that one is a little bit tougher and a lot bigger. But physical silver, strong buy. I would really encourage you guys to load up on more physical silver. We have a lot of major winners this year. And so as we get towards next month, and we're starting to think about which losses that we could take or should take, I'll start to target those things as well and let you know what I'm doing. It's basically the Penalty Box Group is the first to look at. What else did I wanted to say today? I will have updates on First Vanadium and Medallion very soon. Medallion, MDL, MLLOF. If you don't own any Medallion, or you don't have a lot, you want to buy more right now because it's slowly going. It's just broken to another new high and it's going higher. I would strongly suggest anything that can be purchased under 33 to even 35 cents Canadian. So call it 20, 26, 27, 26 for now on the MLLOF. You don't have to buy it all today, but buy some today. And then, next week, as long as it's ready to go to another level. So the Medallion and the First Vanadium, I recommend that we buy more premium members, elite members. If you don't have much or you even bought it cheaper and, you doubled your money from when I, started to push and recommend it again in June, talking about this being a gold play, I would recommend that you continue to accumulate under 45 Canadian while we can. And it's in this sort of channel. And it's been trading between 35 and 42, definitely up to 42, 43, but up to 45. Chip away at the First Vanadium, and any pullbacks we probably could do that. I don't see anything super urgent in like the next week or something, so hopefully we can chip away more. But that's ready to, when that goes and breaks 42, it's probably going straight into the 50s, and Medallion's ready to go as well. I'll talk a little bit more about the Giga and the Encore is what I wanted to talk about. I'm going to do a separate video on that because what they did with that transaction is enormous. I'll give you color that I got from Bill Sheriff about that. I'm scheduling a Zoom with TraceSafe management, and I want to do it where I can invite X amount of people to be on there. And then if you guys have questions, you can just ask them directly instead of me doing like sort of this, you present an interview situation. So I'm working on that. And then the Encore and the Giga, there's some lessons there that I want to talk about in terms of like, how long have we owned these? What happened to them, in between the massive payoffs. I mean, Encore has been, it's been basically an 10 bagger, 8 bagger from when we first started buying it, had a run to 15. We bought more into this like 12-cent huge block we took down, and it went all the way back to 4 or 5 cents for a while. And so but we stuck with it. I bought more, we held it. I increased the allocation when it was cheap, then increased it again back very recently when it was getting cheap and was on the focus list. So we had a full boat position in Encore after years of owning it. Giga as well, in the sense that, that when we got in, it ran, nickel prices crashed. Most people walked away. I stuck with it. And then when it got really cheap, increased, the exposure up to a full 4%. Did that as recently as March, April at 16 cents and buy up to 25. So, these things are examples of like, and I'm going to bring this all home in other videos about just what to keep in mind as we, make decisions on, and how I make decisions on which ones do you stick by, which ones do you just say, sayonara or hold or whatever it is. But anyway, the warrant part was a little bit of a sidetrack. I'll just write in the email. Don't worry about that part, and get to the last 10 minutes. But I'll be back to you soon. Have a good weekend. But I will probably be shooting out definitely a video over the weekend, if not a full write-up. Cheers.